Hello, fifth grade. We are going to be reading some more of Wonder today. We are now in the section from Jack Will's perspective, and we know that Summer gave Jack Will a hint about why Augie was upset with him, but she kept her promise to Augie that she wouldn't talk to Jack Will about it. And we've seen from Jack Will's thoughts that he was genuinely Augie's friend. And we can tell that since Augie's kind of cut him off, he hasn't been liking hanging out with just Julian and them. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm still really hoping Jack Will understands Summer's hint and realizes why Augie's upset with him. So we are going to start on page 151, and we are reading through page 169. All right. In science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class, and lunch and recess, but all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all this stuff we will probably never need to know, like how to figure out the surface area of a cube or what's the difference is between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my life. I hate science the most out of all my classes. We get so much work it's not even funny. And the teacher, Miss Rubin, is so strict about everything. Even the way we write our headings on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly, with really small, round, loopy letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today, trying to take notes about what Ms. Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden, she started talking about the fifth grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the freaking Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing. And then in my head, I was going, oh no, like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere where the mouths are open wide and they're screaming. And then all of a sudden, this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in this flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me. And then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man. It was August. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man. I'd been talking to Julian about August. Oh man. Now I understood. I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time, and I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh God, he was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would never have said that stuff in front of Boba Fett. But that was him, that bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood, the mouth open wide, like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Fifth grade, have you ever had a moment of realization like that, where you realize, oh my gosh, my parents just heard what I said, or oh my gosh, my teacher just heard what I said, or my friends just heard what I said, or they saw that, or they know that this happened? It's kind of like the blood leaves your body. Have you ever felt that? Or it's the opposite and your face becomes really hot and you're embarrassed by that sudden realization? That's exactly what's happening to Jack Will right now, right? So you guys, fifth graders, did Jack Will mean the things that he said? No. Based on what we're reading here, which is from Jack Will's perspective, so we can see his thoughts, he didn't mean what he said. But does that mean he should have said it? No, of course not. And that's just a good lesson to us. Eventually, if you're talking about someone enough, they're going to find out about it. And that's exactly what happened here. Partners. I didn't hear a word of what Miss Rubin was saying after that. Blah, 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 science fair project. Blah, 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 partners. Blah, blah. It's like the way grown-ups talk in Charlie Brown movies, like someone talking underwater. Moi, 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 moi. Then all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing to kids around the class. Reed and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Ximena, August and Jack. She pointed to us when she said this. Miles and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah and... I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partners to choose a project from the list, guys, said Miss Rubin as everyone started taking off. I looked up at August, but he had already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, Looks like you and your best bud are partners. He was smirking when he said this. I hated him so much right then. Hello, Earth to Jack Will, he said when I didn't answer him. Shut up, Julian. I was putting my loose leaf binder away in my backpack and just wanted him away from me. Now, 5th grade, before we keep reading, is Jack Will kind of blaming his own comments on Julian a little bit? He kind of is. But can Jack Will truly put the blame on Julian for what he himself said? No. His feelings that caused him to say that may have been kind of forced by Julian, but Jack Will is the one who said the statement, so it is kind of on Jack Will still. You must be so bummed you got stuck with him, he said. You should tell Miss Rubin you want to switch partners. I bet she'd let you. No, she wouldn't, I said. Ask her. No, I don't want to. Miss Rubin, Julian said, turning around and raising his hand at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned when she heard her name. No, Julian, I screamed. What is it, boys? She said impatiently. Could we switch partners if we wanted to? Said Julian, looking very innocent. Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we wanted to work on together. Well, I guess we could arrange that, she started to say. No, it's okay, Miss Rubin, I said quickly, heading out the door. Bye. Julian ran after me. Why'd you do that? He said, catching up to me at the stairs. We could have been partners. You don't have to be friends with that freak if you don't want to be, And that's when I punched him right in the mouth. Detention. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even try. You don't know where to start. All your sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you opened your mouth. Any words you used would come out wrong. Jack, this is very, very serious, Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on a chair across from his desk and looking at this picture of a pumpkin on the wall behind him. Kids get expelled for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid, and I don't want that to happen, but you have to explain yourself. This is so not like you, Jack, said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and really surprised. I thought you and Julian were friends, said Mr. Tushman. We're not friends, I said. My arms were crossed in front of me. But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack, said Mom, raising her voice. I mean, what were you thinking? She looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that. Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack, said Mr. Tushman. You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that? It was just a baby tooth, I said. Jack, said Mom, shaking her head. That's what Nurse Molly said. You're missing the point, Mom yelled. I just want to know why, said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse, I sighed. Just tell me, Jack. I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called out August a freak, then he'd go to talk to Julian about it. Then Julian would tell him how I had bad-mouthed August too, and everybody would find out about it. Jack, said Mom. I started to cry. I'm sorry. Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hands like you do when your hands are cold. Jack, he said, I don't really know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about that kind of thing, Automatic expulsion. And you're not even trying to explain yourself? I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week, and then after winter break, you'll come back and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate, so to speak. Am I being suspended? I sniffled. Well, he said, shrugging. Technically, yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, while you're at home, you take the time to think about what's happened. And if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened, and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put any of this in your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning you'll figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything is going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know, thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said to me, putting his hands on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Chanukah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose with my sleeve and started walking out the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. Then I walked out the door. Season's greetings. Weirdly enough, when we got back home and Mom brought in the mail, there were holiday cards from both Julian's family and August's family. Julian's holiday card was a picture of Julian wearing a tie, looking like he was about to go to the opera or something. August's holiday card was of a cute old dog wearing reindeer antlers, a red nose, and red booties. There's a cartoon bubble above the dog's head that read, Ho, ho, ho. On the inside of the card, it read, To the Will family, peace on earth. Love Nate, Isabel, Olivia, August, and Daisy. Cute card, huh? I said to Mom, who had hardly said a word to me all the way home. I think she honestly just didn't know what to say. That must be their dog, I said. Do you want to tell me what's going on inside your head, Jack? She answered me seriously. I bet you they put a picture of their dog on the card every year, I said. She took the card from my hands and looked at the picture carefully. Then she raised her eyebrows and her shoulders and gave me back the card. We're very lucky, Jack. There's so much we take for granted. I know, I said. I knew what she was talking about without her having to say it. I heard that Julian's mom actually photoshopped August's face out of the class picture when she got it. She gave a copy to a couple of the other moms. That's just awful, said Mom. People are they're not always so great. I know. Is that why you hit Julian? No. And then I told her why I punched Julian, and I told her that August was my ex-friend now, and I told her about Halloween. Letters, emails, Facebook, texts. December 18th. Dear Mr. Tushman, I am very, very sorry for punching Julian. It was very, very wrong for me to do that. I'm writing a letter to him to tell him that too. If it's okay, I would really rather not tell you why I did what I did because it doesn't really make it right anyway. Also, I would rather not make Julian get in trouble for having said something he should not have said. Very sincerely, Jack Will. December 18th. Dear Julian, I am very, very, very sorry for hitting you. It was wrong of me. I hope you are okay. I hope your grown-up tooth grows in fast. Mine always do. Sincerely, Jack Will. December 26th. Dear Jack, thank you so much for your letter. One thing I've learned after being a middle school director for 20 years, there are almost always more than two sides to every story. Although I don't know the details, I have an inkling about what may have sparked the confrontation with Julian. Well, nothing justifies striking another student, ever. I also know good friends are sometimes worth defending. This has been a tough year for a lot of students, as the first year of middle school usually is. Keep up the good work and keep being the fine boy we all know you are. All the best, Lawrence Tushman, Middle School Director. Now, 5th grade, Jack Will never told Mr. Tushman what happened, right? But have you guys ever noticed that teachers, and maybe principals too, tend to understand more about what's going on than you think they will? Do you get the sense that Mr. Tushman has a pretty good idea of why Jack will punch Julian based on that letter? He does. And Mr. Tushman's right. There's never a good reason. There's never a reason why you should be punching someone else. However, do you think Mr. Tushman understands what Jack was feeling when that happened and why he may have done it? Yeah, definitely. All right. To ltushman@beecherschool.edu. So this email is being sent to Mr. Tushman. Copying in John Will and Amanda Will. So those are Jack Will's parents. From Melissa Albans. And that's Julian's mom. The subject for the email is Jack Will. Dear Mr. Tushman, I spoke with Amanda and John Will yesterday, and they expressed their regret at Jack's having punched our son Julian in the mouth. I'm writing to let you know that my husband and I support your decision to allow Jack to return to Beecher Prep after a 2-day suspension. Although I think hitting a child would be valid grounds for expulsion in other schools, I agree such extreme measures aren't warranted here. We have known the Will family since our boys were in kindergarten and are confident that every measure will be taken to ensure this doesn't happen again. To that end, I wonder if Jack's unexpectedly violent behavior might have been a result of too much pressure being placed on his young shoulders. I am speaking specifically of the new child with special needs who both Jack and Julian were asked to befriend. In retrospect, and having now seen the child in question at various school functions and in the class pictures, I think it may have been too much to ask of our children to be able to process all that. Certainly, when Julian mentioned he was having a hard time befriending the boy, we told him he was off the hook in that regard. We think the transition to middle school is hard enough without having to place greater burdens or hardships on these young, impressionable minds. I should also mention that, as a member of the school board, I was a little disturbed that more consideration was not given during this child's application process to the fact that Beecher Prep is not an inclusion school. There are many parents, myself included, who question the decision to let this child into our school at all. At the very least, I am somewhat troubled that this child was not held to the same stringent application standards, i.e. interview, that the rest of the incoming middle school students were. Best, Melissa Perper Albans. So 5th grade, I know there were a lot of words in that email, but what kind of tone did you get from Julian's mom's email there? Has Julian's mom ever actually met Augie? No. But what is she saying about Augie in her email? Does it kind of sound like she's blaming Jack Will punching Julian on Augie? Kind of. Is she making it sound like Augie isn't smart enough to go to Beecher Prep? Kind of. She's bringing up the application process, saying that they're not an inclusion school, that he wasn't held to the same standards as the other kids were for being admitted to the school. So, we've talked a lot with this book about how you don't judge a book by its cover. You don't judge someone based on how they look. Is that what Julian's mom is doing? Is she judging Augie based on how he looks? That's exactly what she's doing. So now I have another question for you. If Julian's mom thinks this way, does it surprise you? Does Julian's actions now surprise you? Or does it make a little bit of sense why Julian acts the way he does? Because if his parents, or at least his mom in this case, feels this way about Augie, it makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it, why Julian isn't very nice to Augie. So 5th grade, that's why usually when maybe you've seen someone be unkind to someone or, not the nicest, there's never a good reason for that. You should always be kind, but sometimes there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, right? In this case, I wonder if Julian's mom talks about Augie at home, and that's kind of put an opinion in Julian's head as well that kind of influences his negative behavior towards Augie. So then we have an email to Melissa Albin, so to Julian's mom from Mr. Tushman. He also copied in Jack Will's parents, and the subject is Jack Will. So he's responding to Julian's mom's email. Dear Mrs. Albans, thank you for your email outlining your concerns. Were I not convinced that Jack Will is extremely sorry for his actions, and were I not confident that he would not repeat those actions, rest assured that I would not be allowing him back at Beecher Prep. So he's saying, if I wasn't confident that this was a one-time thing, Jack Will would have been expelled. As for your other concerns regarding our new student, August, and notice 5th grade, did Mrs. Albans use Augie's name once in her email? She just kept referring to him as the student or the new student. Whereas here, Mr. Tushman's saying his name is August. We both know this. As for your other concerns regarding our new student, August, please note that he does not have special needs. He is neither disabled, handicapped, nor developmentally delayed in any way, so there was no reason to assume anyone would take issue with his admittance to Beecher Prep, whether it is an inclusion school or not. In terms of the application process, the admissions director and I both felt it within our right to hold the interview off-site at August's home for reasons that are obvious. We felt that this slight break in protocol was warranted, but in no way prejudicial, in one way or another, to the application review. August is an extremely good student and has secured the friendship of some truly exceptional young people, including Jack Will. At the beginning of the school year, when I enlisted certain children to be a welcoming committee to August, I did so as a way of easing his transition into a school environment. I did not think asking these children to be especially kind to a new student would place any extra burdens or hardships on them. In fact, I thought it would teach them a thing or two about empathy and friendship and loyalty. As it turns out, Jack Will didn't need to learn any of these virtues. He already had them in abundance. Thank you again for being in touch. Sincerely, Lawrence Tushman. So basically, Mr. Tushman said back to Julian's mom, Augie is exceptionally bright. He is in no way disabled, handicapped, or developmentally delayed. He doesn't have a learning disability. He deserves to be at this school. Asking students to be kind to him does not put a burden on them. It just encourages them to show empathy and be friendly. And he said, Jack Will already has all of these skills in abundance because she was using, if you remember in Julian's mom's email, she was using Jack Will as, I'm worried about Jack Will feeling a burden about having to be nice to this new kid. And so Mr. Tushman's like, no, that wasn't his burden. He was nice to Augie because he is a friendly person. So Mr. Tushman very nicely kind of answered all of Mrs. Albin's concerns that she really didn't need to share. And now we have an email from Julian's mom to Jack Will's dad. Oh, no, sorry, other way around. From Jack Will's dad to Julian's mom. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for being so understanding about this incident with Jack. He is, as you know, extremely sorry for his actions. I hope you do accept our offer to pay Julian's dental bills. We are very touched by your concern regarding Jack's friendship with August. Please know we have asked Jack if he felt any undue pressure about any of this, and the answer was a resolute no. He enjoys August's company and feels like he has made a good friend. Hope you have a happy new year. John and Amanda Will. Now we're kind of switching gears. That was the communication between the adults and the parents. Now we're going to see some communication between the kids, primarily Jack, Will, and Augie. Because at this point, have Jack, Will, and Augie spoken to each other? No. This is all over Christmas break. Hi, August. Jackalope Will wants to be friends with you on Facebook. Jackalope Will, 32 mutual friends. Thanks, the Facebook team. So that was a Facebook friend request. Now we have an email from Jack Will to Augie. The subject line is sorry with a bunch of exclamation points. Hey August, it's me, Jack Will. I noticed I'm not on your friends list anymore. Hope you friend me again because I'm really sorry. I just wanted to say that. Sorry. I know why you're mad at me now. I'm sorry. I didn't mean the stuff I said. I was so stupid. I hope you can forgive me. Hope we can be friends again, Jack. So Jack has now reached out to August on Facebook and email. Now he's sending him. Now we have August texting Jack. So texting him back. Got your message. You know why I'm mad at you now? Did Summer tell you? And Jack Will responds, she told me bleeding scream as a hint, but didn't get it at first. Then I remember seeing bleeding scream in homeroom on Halloween. Didn't know it was you, thought you were coming as Boba Fett. Then Augie responds, I changed my mind at the last minute. Did you really punch Julian? Jack Will, yeah, I punched him, knocked out a tooth in the back, a baby tooth. Augie, why'd you punch him? Jack Will, I don't know. Augie, liar, I bet he said something about me, right? Jack Will, he's a jerk, but I was a jerk too. Really, really, really sorry for what I said, dude, okay? Can we be friends again? August, okay. Jack Will, awesome. August, but tell me the truth, okay? Would you really want to kill yourself if you were me? Jack Will, no! I swear on my life. But dude, I would want to kill myself if I were Julian, winky face. August, LOL. Yes, dude, we're friends again. Now again, 5th grade, should we ever joke about killing ourselves? No. But was this kind of Jack Will's way of, I don't know, trying to make light of the situation and show Augie that he really didn't mean it? Yes, that's what he's trying to do. Of course, we should never joke about that. Even if we really dislike someone, we should never say we would kill ourselves if we were them. But Jack Will is trying to show Augie, hey, I really am your friend. I am so sorry for what I did. Back from winter break. Despite what Tushman said, there was no clean slate when I went back to school in January. In fact, things were totally weird from the second I got to my locker in the morning. I'm next to Amos, who's always been a pretty straight-up kid. And I was like, yo, what's up? And he basically just nodded a half hello and closed his locker door and left. I was like, okay, that was bizarre. And then I said, hey, what up to Henry, who didn't even bother half smiling but just looked away. Okay, so something's up. Dissed by 2 people in less than 5 minutes. Not that anyone's counting. I thought I'd try one more time with Tristan, and boom, same thing. He actually looked nervous, like he was afraid of talking to me. I've got a form of the plague now is what I thought. This is Julian's payback. And that's pretty much how it went all morning. Nobody talked to me. Not true. The girls were totally normal with me, and August talked to me, of course. And actually, I have to say both Maxes said hello, which made me feel kind of bad for never ever hanging out with them in the 5 years I've been in their class. I hoped lunch would be better, but it wasn't. I sat down at my usual table with Luca and Isaiah. I guess I thought since they weren't in the super popular group, but were kind of middle-of-the-road jock kids, that I'd be safe with them. But they barely nodded when I said hello. Then, when our table was called, they got their lunches and never came back. I saw them find a table way over at the other end of the cafeteria. They weren't at Julian's table, but they were near him, like on the fringe of popularity. So anyway, I'd been ditched. I knew table switching was something that happened in the 5th grade, but I never thought it would happen to me. It felt really awful being at the table by myself. I felt like everyone was watching me. It also made me feel like I had no friends. I decided to skip lunch and go read in the library. So 5th grade, before we end, Jack Will just said it felt really awful being at the table by myself. I felt like everyone was watching me. It also made me feel like I had no friends. Who else was feeling that way in the cafeteria at the beginning of this book? Augie, right? Before Summer came and sat by him. So is Jack Will getting a little taste of what Augie goes through every day? He is. And even though he's friends with Augie now, which you might be wondering, why didn't he just go sit with August? Do you think Jack Will is still a little embarrassed about what he said to Augie? Yeah, a little bit. But he's getting a taste of what Augie goes through every day, isn't he? All right, 5th grade. Suddenly, a bunch of Jack Will's friends aren't being his friends anymore. What do you think's happening? Who do you think has started this? I'm sure we're all thinking the same name, but I want you to think about who you think started it and what you think is going to happen in the next part of the book. Nice work today, 5th grade.